नमन का कॉल आ रहा।
हेलो। हाँ। हम्म। हाँ। हाँ। हाँ।
Hello guys, let's start this session now. Hello guys, good morning and welcome you all in this AZ-2007 session. Myself Archie this side and I'm a host for this session guys. If you have any question and queries, please put question in chat box. We'll be there to help you out. Let's moving ahead. Talking about our event sponsor, that is Synergetics. So Synergetics is an India one of kind co-porting learning solution company. Now you will get a question like what we are and what we're doing. So answering your question, we bruise through our offering and also give comprehensive advisory service to client who wish to modernize their framework. We educate, advise, implement and manage. Then the Synergetic solution offering, that is persona based onboarding solution, onboarding add on solution, certification solution, certification add on solution, reskilling solution, emerging technology training solution, certification hackathon solution, cloud adoption solution, latest technology training solution, sales pre sales training solution, practice playbook solution, and architecting solution. Then what this Microsoft certification training does? It will give you complete learning experience. You will get trained, build confidence to appear for the exam and get certified. This is skilling journey. Here you can advance yourself. First you have to complete fundamental certification. Then you can go with the advanced role based certification and expert level certification. In fundamental level certification, we have Azure Fundamental, Azure AI Fundamental, Azure Data Fundamental, Power Platform Fundamental, and Security Compliance and Identity Fundamentals. In associate level certification, we have many types of certification. Here you can see on my screen. Then expert level certification, we have AZ-305, SC100, PL600, and AZ-400. Also guys, we have special certification, that is AZ-120, AZ-140, and AZ-220. If you want any certification, you can connect with us. Then certification offering. So certification will help you to increase your visibility, expand your knowledge and skills. We do provide certification add-on, onboarding add-on like short duration modules and more. Then moving ahead, today training is organized and handled by the ATC community. So our ATC community is open to all the people who are interested in our cloud technology and various emerging technology. Under ATC community, we have emerging technology community for all. Then Azure Tech community for Punekars. Emerging technology community for Surat. Azure Tech community for Nagpurkar. Guys, you just have to install the Meetup app and you can follow our communities there. Then you have to follow the code of conduct, which will create a respectful environment for all the participants. Please note that participants are not allowed to take screenshot of the presentation and cannot do screen recording. We will try to upload this training on our official YouTube channel soon. Today's speaker for this training, Mr. Mahendra Shinde. He is a Microsoft certified trainer and currently works with Synergetics as a DevOps practice head. Agenda for this webinar, you will get to know more about the topic and benefit of it. In this session, we are providing you learning achievement badge. You just have to follow the step and you will get the activated badge. Guys, don't forget to follow us on our LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube for upcoming event updates. Thank you for my side. Now I would like to hand over this mic to our speaker. He will continue ahead. Thank you, guys.
Yeah. Hi. Thank you, Archie. I guess there is a question from some participant about achievement batches. Okay, fine. We'll discuss that later in a break time. Okay. So I hope I'm audible to all of you. I'll be sharing my screen. Let me know if my screen, once my screen becomes visible to all of you right now. I hope my screen is visible to all of you. Okay, so I hope my screen is visible to all of you right now. Yeah, good. So today we are discussing AZ-2007, which is a certification add-on from Microsoft. In AZ-2007, we are going to discuss GitHub Copilot, which is AI-based code assistant or an AI code assistant for developers. Not for developers, rather, it can be used for people with different, you can say, role or people with different responsibilities. Anyways, so in this particular course, or you can say in this particular learning module, we will discuss how GitHub Copilot can actually assist us and how to use, how to subscribe for it, how to use GitHub Copilot directly from an IDE. The IDE or dev environment that we'll use today would be Visual Studio Code, VS Code. So before we start, let me introduce myself. My name is Mahendra Shinde. I'm Microsoft Certified Trainer from Synergetics. And I've been conducting these certification trainings for many years now. So before we continue with this session today, I just want all of you to quickly introduce yourself. You don't have to switch on mic and speak on mic. Instead, what I expect you to do is quickly use the chat window to write down your name, the company affiliations, title or function or your job role, your overall experience, and what are your expectations from this today's module. Can we do that quickly? Yeah. Okay. So let's continue now. So purpose of this particular training is to understand or to help people understand how GitHub Copilot will help them in overall development or testing work. Right now, as a prerequisite, we expect people to know how to use Azure and Azure Cloud subscription. So you should have a basic experience with using Azure portal to create resources. You should have basic knowledge of cloud concept. Okay. But this is all basic, basically. Okay. So we are not actually going to deploy any cloud resources here using GitHub Copilot. But if you know a little bit about cloud, that would be helpful. So this is what we will be discussing now. So first thing we'll discuss is, let's say, just we'll get started with Copilot. Then I will show you how we can generate documentation using Copilot tools. Then what are the code development features available in GitHub Copilot? How we can even generate a unit test using GitHub Copilot. Okay. Now, Microsoft has Microsoft Learn Portal. If you go to Microsoft Learn Portal, there is a URL mentioned here, aka MS My Microsoft Learn Profile. You can sign up and create your own Microsoft Learn profile where you get access to a lot of different Microsoft courses, online courses readily available there. Okay. Yeah. This particular courseware, AZ-2007, I guess it's not yet available on Microsoft Learn Portal. Uh, like some details are available right now, and some of the details are not yet published. Maybe in just a couple of days now, all the content would be available on Microsoft Learn profile. Let me quickly check if it is now available, because last time I checked, it was not available on Learn profile, Learn portal. Yes, it is available now. Yeah. So entire module is available on Microsoft Learn profile. You can access it from here. Okay. Course achievement, we will discuss that later on, how to get the achievement badges. Now, let's start with actual GitHub Copilot, our module. Improve productivity and use different HDLC phases. Okay, fine. So wait a second. Yep. So before we start, how many of you are aware of AI, artificial intelligence, and different AI tools which are available from Microsoft or OpenAI? Now, this is a brief list of several AI tools which are available from Microsoft, from OpenAI, and from GitHub. This is just a comprehensive list. Okay, we are not actually going to learn anything about Azure AI here in this module. Just a small, you can say, mention about it. Microsoft already has lots of AI-related services on their cloud platform, including services like Azure AI services, which basically help developers build AI-powered applications without ML, machine learning knowledge. Then we have Azure AI Studio, which enables developers to build, train, and deploy machine learning modules. So AI Studio uses ML, AI services, skip the ML part. Then we have AI Builder, which enables users to add AI capabilities to their apps without tech expertise. So that is AI Builder. Then we have Copilot Studio, which enables users to create and manage AI-powered chatbots. We have Semantic Kernel SDK, which provides a framework to create fully automated AI agent. And then we have Visual Studio IntelliCode, which is AI-powered code completion and refactoring assistance. Very, very similar to what GitHub Copilot can do. Then you have ChatGPT, which engages in human-like conversation, natural language processing. And then we have GitHub Copilot that can work directly from a code editor to improve the coding efficiency and accuracy. So GitHub Copilot is a specialist tool, help you directly from inside the development environment. Okay. Yeah. Now, so what kind of subscription or what kind of pricing plans are available with GitHub Copilot? GitHub Copilot has GitHub Copilot individual pricing plan, which offers code completion in IDE, which offers Copilot chat in IDE. Chat means using natural language processing. You can actually go and communicate with Copilot. Copilot chat in GitHub mobile application, you can access Copilot. you can access Copilot through CLI, GitHub command line interface, and you can even block the suggestions matching public code. So GitHub Copilot behind the scene uses public code repositories for the learning purpose. So GitHub Copilot learn from public repository and then use that learning to provide you code suggestion. But don't worry, it's not going to actually just copy paste anything, right, from public code repository. It will learn from it and then use that learning to generate a fresh original text. Okay. GitHub Copilot is a generative AI tool. And by definition, all generative AI tools, what they basically do is they use data, large data for studying, for learning, right? Building their models. And using that data, generative AI will always generate a new, a fresh and original text. It's not like copying something from a code repository which already exists. It will generate a new text of its own. So Copilot has Copilot individual, then we have Copilot business. Copilot business is basically uh, uh, an additional, or you can say a premium service on top of GitHub Copilot individual. What are the additional features you will get? GitHub Copilot business has all the features of GitHub Copilot individual, but in addition to that, you can exclude specific files from Copilot. You can say, Copilot, please ignore these files in my current workspace. Organize wide policy management. You can enforce a policy, organization-wise policy, right? So if let's say if you are using GitHub Copilot Business, it means there are multiple people in your organization using Copilot at the same time, and you can enforce a policy, just like Azure policy. You can have audit logs for the users who are using Copilot, and then you can also increase the Copilot model rate limits. In individual subscription, there is a rate limiter. Okay, there is some kind of a request throttler. So this will keep a limit on how many requests you make to Copilot. In business edition, it is increased. The limit is increased. Then you have Copilot Enterprise, which will provide you Copilot chat directly in github.com website. Okay. And chat skills in IDEs, pull request summaries. You can generate a pull request summary, and you can even set the knowledge bases for the Copilot. So these are the three versions of Copilot available now. Now, in addition to these three, recently, just last week, uh, Microsoft has released one more edition of Copilot, which is Copilot Free Edition. How do you subscribe for the Copilot Free Edition? For Copilot Free Edition, what you need is Visual Studio Code editor, and you need GitHub account. You can sign up and get the free version of GitHub Copilot. But I guess the options available or features available in GitHub Copilot free tier would be very limited as compared to Copilot individual. Okay. So just to show you an example, I will log in into my GitHub account and I will show you which kind of subscription right now I'm using. Here it is. This is my GitHub. Okay. And let me show you where I have registered for the Copilot. This is my Copilot subscription. Right now I'm using Copilot Business subscription. Copilot Business subscription. For Copilot Business subscription, let me show you. Yeah, that's my Copilot Business subscription. I have been assigned a seat as a Copilot Business subscription managed by my GitHub organization. And I have right now access to Copilot in CLI, but I don't have CLI installed right now. Then I have access to Copilot chat in IDE, which is enabled for me. I have Copilot chat in GitHub mobile, which is disabled for me. And code suggestions from public code duplication filter is also allowed for me. But please remember one thing, features like Copilot in github.com is not available to me because I'm using business edition. For Copilot in github.com, I should use, oh, wait a second, business edition, it should be enabled by default. I have kept it disabled for a minute. I can actually go and enable that for my account. Right now, if you look at the pricing part, GitHub pricing, Let me show you the latest pricing detail for Copilot. So Copilot is an add-on to GitHub. That means as a prerequisite, you should have a GitHub account. But on top of that, these are the several options available under Copilot. So now what Copilot has done, Copilot has renamed individual to Pro. And then there is one more free edition which is available for all of you now. Okay, this is just recent development. You all can sign up and create your own GitHub account and then sign up for GitHub Copilot immediately on that GitHub account. Okay, so this one is called free tier. This is a recent development. Earlier, there was individual, which is now called Pro for $10 per month for per user per month, $10. Business edition, it is $19 per user per month. So right now I'm been charged $19. Actually, I have 2 user accounts there. So total amount would be $38 for me every month for 2 users on GitHub Copilot business account. If you subscribe for the free account, there is no charge, and this is how you can get started with free tier 1. Let me click. Copilot on GitHub is currently disabled by your organization. Okay, I already have GitHub organization subscribed, so Copilot for GitHub is currently not available to me. I'm already using GitHub Copilot Business Edition right now. So what you could basically do, let's start a private browser window. Let's go to github.com and let's see if I can sign in with my another account. Oh, but I don't remember password now. Let me check. Okay, looks like uh, I don't have any GitHub account with registered with this email ID. So that's good actually. Let's create a new GitHub account. So what I'll do is I'll create my own new GitHub account by simply using my email address here. So this one is my personal email address and I want to sign up for GitHub. And what I'll do is I'll give my password, a new password for this. So let's say, for example, this is my new password and I want my GitHub username to be this. Okay, this should be the username. Oh, wait a second. Oh, this is a very commonly used password. Okay, even this is used one. Fine, let me try something interesting now. Yeah. Okay, I need to write it down somewhere, otherwise I'll just remember this password as well. So let's continue with the sign up process. Yeah, this is the right way. Submit. So after the visual capture, it will now ask me to confirm my email address. They have basically sent me an activation code and it should be in my inbox. So inside an inbox, you can see this was the activation code. Let me just copy this activation code and paste it here. Continue. Okay, so let's log in into the newly created account. Shinde Mahindra was my account name. I will enter the password and this is my new GitHub account. I just signed up and created a new GitHub account for myself. Now this new fresh GitHub account, if you just click on the right top corner, this is the user profile button. If you click there, you will see the username, and then you can see all the GitHub related features available. There is an option here, your Copilot. Let's go and check your Copilot. Now here, as soon as you go to your Copilot, you will see it's showing me some details about Copilot. And right now it's saying you cannot get Copilot from any organization because you are not member of any GitHub organization, but that's fine. Did you notice this block here? Your AI pair programmer, start using Copilot for free. Now, this is one thing that I expect you guys to try because Copilot is something worth trying. Start using Copilot free. And yes, you can start using it directly. You can specify what kind of IDE you will be using it with. Sorry. Sorry. So let's say I'll be using it with Visual Studio Code. Okay. So this is what you have to do. You have to then download and install Copilot extension for your VS Code IDE. So how many of you already have a personal GitHub account, by the way? May I know how many of you have GitHub account, personal? Okay, great. I can see there are 4 to 5 people who already have GitHub personal account. So if you already have a GitHub personal account, what I would recommend you to do is, yes, that's good. So if already have a GitHub account, what you basically should do is just click on the right top corner button. That is your user profile button. You should get a menu like this and then go for your Copilot. Okay, go for your Copilot. And then there should be a button to start Copilot free. You can see here Copilot free is already activated and you will get this option here. You are using Copilot for free. Responses are limited to 2000 code completions and 50 chat messages per month. That is your free tier benefits. There is also another button here, start free trial, but please remember this is Copilot individual or Copilot Pro subscription worth 10 US dollars. Okay. If you use this button, let me tell you frankly, if you click this button, you have to provide a debit card or credit card details as a payment payment method. And then your free trial is only for the first 30 days. Okay. So within those first 30 days, while you are in free trial, you have to deactivate your account before the 30 days duration ends. Otherwise, on 31st day onward, second month, GitHub will start charging you $10 per month for your Copilot usage. But anyway, it's not required anyways. The free trial is all that you need to explore GitHub Copilot. Okay. Yeah. So you can access it from here. This is the URL. You can also access it directly from URL instead of using a navigation. You can just go to github.com settings Copilot and you will get this option to start Copilot free tier access. Okay. So what basically is the AI pair programming? Have you heard about, now I will use little bit of graph. Have you heard about something called agile development approach? In agile development approaches, there is one agile approach called extreme programming, where we have a concept of pair, okay, pair development. So let's say, for example, it is as like you are working on some application development. Let's say this one is your project. And right now you have been assigned to work on this project. So let's say this is you. So whatever contributions you make to this particular project, this is your contributions. your contributions. And GitHub Copilot would be your assistant, an AI coding assistant. Now, please remember one thing. The role of GitHub Copilot here is your assistant. So GitHub Copilot will provide suggestions to you, coding suggestions, or whatever kind of work you would to assign, you can assign that work to this AI paired assistant or AI based assistant. And then it is you who would decide whether or not to accept those suggestions, whether or not to accept those suggestions and then incorporate them into your contributions to the project. Please remember, with AI, with artificial intelligence, there is now another new challenge. Can you blame your AI coding assistant for the bad code or the defects in a code? What do you think? Hello? No. Please remember, AI-based coding assistant, it doesn't matter whether you wrote everything on your own or you took help from AI. It doesn't really matter. You would be responsible for that code or you would be responsible for those contributions. So whatever contributions you make to the project, you would be one who take complete responsibility of those contributions. So whenever AI-based coding assistant give you a suggestion, it is you who has to check, analyze, right? Take the complete responsibility of it. Okay. Please remember, AI-based assistant or this code assistant, GitHub Copilot, is not there to replace you. It is not there to replace you. It is there just to make the work lot much faster. Yeah, to make the work bit faster. I don't understand what is presentation full screen. Right now, my presentations are already full screen. This is a full screen mode, right, Ravinder? Yeah, fine. So this is a paired assistant, as I was saying earlier. Now, the thing here is the assistant here is actually there to just provide you the suggestions. Now, what is benefit of this? Benefit is, let me give you a scenario earlier, a scenario. Long back, I used to teach, uh, what was that? Yeah, .NET. Somewhere in year 2013, I used to teach .NET development, and then I discontinued it. So that time there was one participant in my session. I was conducting a very simple training, Windows Forms or GUI application building training. And there was this one participant, participant one, let's see. You know what this participant did? He wrote a very simple Hello World Windows Form application directly using Notepad. The text editor that he used was Notepad. He literally wrote entire code using a small tool called Notepad. And guess what? Other people, all the other participants were simply using Visual Studio to build the GUI application. And guess what? When you use Visual Studio, things become much easier. It's just a drag and drop. It is just drag and drop. So this participant, he was expecting me to give him some kind of recognition that yes, you did it something good, right? While other participants were simply using Visual Studio. But then I told him, what is use of building a GUI application using a plain notepad? Don't you think it will take more time to build such application in simple notepad? Why do we use IDEs like Visual Studio? To increase our productivity. What is increase in productivity? I'm not saying you cannot write entire GUI application in Notepad. You can do that. But then Notepad is a tool for text editor. Notepad won't be able to find the syntax errors, right? Notepad will force you to write everything from scratch. Whereas Visual Studio Code will actually assist you in building that application much faster. You can drag and drop labels, text field, buttons, drop down everything, and your application would be ready in lesser time. Are you getting my point? Hello? Now consider GitHub Copilot as a next stage in this evolution. So earlier we used to write our code with plain text editor. C++ developers might remember we earlier used to write entire C++ application in VI editor or text editor. And then from command line GCC compiler, we used to compile them. Then we got IDEs like Turbo C, Visual C, right? Visual Studio, and so on. Now, what is benefit of these IDEs? To make your developers write same amount of code, but in less time, improve the productivity. So GitHub Copilot is the next stage in the evolution now. Now you will use IDE, but inside IDE, you will use AI-based code assistant that will actually help you to build and continue your application. Okay. Yeah. Now, you cannot totally be dependent on it, but you should be smart enough to get the suggestions from Copilot and then implement them. But before you implement them, you need to verify those suggestions. Okay. Now, this will actually help you to improve overall code quality and to lessen the amount of time you require to work on the project. And it's not just coding part. GitHub Copilot can even generate documentation for you. GitHub Copilot can generate test cases for you, right? So what is benefit now? Number one, GitHub Copilot natively integrates with IDEs like Visual Studio Code, Visual Studio, and other IDEs like IntelliJ IDEA. Okay, and I guess there is even an unofficial plugin available for Eclipse. GitHub Copilot works with all popular programming languages. So it's not just for Java or .NET. GitHub Copilot knows JavaScript. GitHub Copilot even knows how to write in C++ application. GitHub Copilot can dramatically accelerate the overall productivity of developers because then now developers do not have to write all the code on their own. Okay. You know what? With something like GitHub Copilot, Copilot is not going to replace you and me, but people who know how to use Copilot, they are going to replace you and me. Are you getting my point? The tool itself is not going to replace us, but other people who know how to use this particular tool effectively, they are going to replace us. Is that clear? Yep. Now, what are the limitations, by the way? Large language models, LLMs. GitHub Copilot behind the scene use large language or the big models. These models are usually trained on a limited scope. Now, what does it mean? It means that most of the time GitHub Copilot will learn from the public repositories. Now, what if, just a small thing, what if you are building an application using a framework or a language which is not much common, or the programming practice that you follow is not much common one, and it is not found anywhere in any public repositories. So Copilot may not be able to understand your code because the scope is limited. Like for example, Copilot will help you with building, let's say, a web application with Java, web application with ASP.NET. But there is a possibility that if you ask Copilot a question on PHP 5, for example, PHP 5.2, 5.3, there is a possibility that the there is no language model available for it. Now I'm just saying it bluntly, but I believe there is already lot of open source projects available built with previous version of PHP. So this should not be an issue with PHP, but I'm just giving you an example. Number two, large language models could contain coding biases. Sometime it might happen that Copilot might give you a suggestion and say that, yes, this is the right way to code, but you do not have to agree to it. You don't have to accept it, right? There can be a coding bias. Just because many open source developers use a certain coding practice, that doesn't necessarily mean that you should also use coding practice same to them. Like for example, let's say GitHub Copilot gives you a suggestion like this. Your integer variable should use I as a prefix and your string variable should use S as a prefix. But do you have to accept these naming practices? Hello? In your organization, it might be possible that you don't accept these type of coding conventions. As per your organization, instead of using something like S name, you prefer just name. Instead of I name, you prefer just now. Possible, right? So there could be coding biases or there could be suggestions which may not be aligned with your organization's coding practices. There is also a possibility that Copilot suggestions might include a security risk, publicly available code, or inaccurate. That happens when Copilot has limited information about your project. Okay. So you cannot be entirely dependent on Copilot, but use Copilot to increase your productivity. Okay. So basically, let me put it out in other words. You cannot use Copilot to build an application in language that you never learned. Are you getting my point? Let's say, for example, you have built application with Java and .NET, but you had no knowledge on Python. And now you decided, okay, fine, with Copilot, I should be able to build application in Python. No, you should not do that. Use Copilot for code generation in particular language, provided you know the basic of that language. You may not be an expert. You may not be an expert on that language, but you should know it, basically. That clear? Yep. Okay. Now, Copilot extension. GitHub Copilot application actually provides auto completion in code editors. I told you already. I'm going to show you an example of that as well. And there is also another extension called GitHub Copilot chat extension. So to show you an example, what I would do is I will launch my Visual Studio Code in a blank, you can say, project window, or there is already a small demo I have created some time back. Don't worry, this is a Java demo, but don't worry, you can use Copilot with any other language as well. So to show you an example, if I keep my cursor anywhere in VS Code and if I press Control I, it will show me a Copilot. Yeah, no, sorry. Copilot extension is not activated yet. Let's wait for it. My VS Code, in my Visual Studio Code, I have too many extensions installed. You can see it here on the left-hand side panel. There are too many things installed. So it takes time to initialize everything. If I press Control I get this option here. You will see there is a small label here, Ask Copilot. So I can ask Copilot to do anything in here. Let's say, for example, I would ask Copilot, add new REST endpoint API slash customer slash ID, where ID must be a path parameter which represents customer ID. Okay. This endpoint must return a dummy customer with given ID, dummy or mock. Let's see what happens if I type this. Now, did you notice one thing? Whatever I have written in this text box, it's not a Java code or it's not a particular program code as well. It is actually just a basic human language, English. Let's see if Copilot can understand my requirement. So now what Copilot is actually suggesting me is to add this import statement to support path variable. Yeah, that's right. And I'll accept this. Oh no, but looks like that's it. Copilot has not generated the next suggestion, or Copilot has not actually created the code. So Copilot can do mistake. Let's save this. Looks like the import path variable is never used. That's fine. Let's repeat the question, but this time I will put this question here. Control I, generate the REST endpoint, or let's say instead of REST, let's say get endpoint API customer ID. Let's see if it can generate now. Yes, did this. But then there is still a mistake. I was expecting it to provide a dummy customer object. So what I can do is I can again place my cursor right there inside, press Control I, and then I'll put an instruction here. Method must return a mock customer object with given ID. Let's see if it can generate now. Notice what is the difference now? Hello? Please ignore the language here, Java, which I'm using. But you will notice that if you know a particular language, you can ask Copilot to generate a code. This will actually save your time. You don't have to actually write all those pieces of code, but you cannot just accept it blindly. You know what are the mistakes here? There is actually no such class called customer. Are you getting my point? But now you get an option here. Fix using Copilot. I don't understand why this error is there. So I will just politely ask Copilot to fix it for me. And it's done. Copilot is asking me, no, there is, I guess there is a learn batch you will get, but there is no certification exam for this. Yeah. So the fix available is to create a customer class. Unfortunately here, it's generating the import statement, but there is no customer class as such. So what we should do is basically, we should create this class. Fix using Copilot. Oh no, I don't want this one. This suggestion I don't like. It's basically it's saying there is no customer class here. Fine. Let's discard. And what? This time, let me show you the Copilot chat window. For Copilot chat, you have to press Control Shift and I. If you use Control I, that is Copilot. If you use Control Shift I, it will show you Copilot chat. Now in Copilot chat, you can communicate with Copilot like this. Like right now, you can see customer controller is already selected here as a current file. And now here, let's say I'll ask Copilot, could you generate missing Java class customer? Let's see if Copilot chat gives me any response now. So let's say Copilot chat is saying, yes, I can do that. And it has already generated the given class. Notice the entire class code getting generated by Copilot now. Hello? And now, if I click on this accept button, yes, accepted. The Copilot code suggestions are now accepted, right? And if I just go back to the customer controller, the compilation error disappeared. Any question on this? Anyone, any question, any queries? To open the chat window, what we just have to do is, see, there are multiple ways you can do this. Number one is to use Control Shift and I. But please remember, this will not work if you do not have that extension installed in your VS Code. So what you should do is, if inside your Visual Studio Code you don't get this option, what you should do is go for the extensions button, and from here search for Copilot Chat. Okay, so you will get this option here. Looks like Copilot Chat is already installed in my VS Code environment. Okay. Please remember, after installing Visual Studio Code and Copilot, you have to also log in into your Copilot account. Okay, so I can show you here once again. When I open Copilot, you can see here it shows that I have already logged in into this Copilot account. It will show me my email address and everything. Copilot edit, Copilot chat. Okay, this is the last response I have received. And you can see it here. This is my username, Mahendra Shinde. And this is all the interaction I had with the Copilot so far. Okay, so if it is first time you are accessing it, it will ask you to log in with your GitHub account. Okay, and that GitHub account must have Copilot registered in it. Yeah, okay, fine. Yes, Ashish. It's not like you should not know the logic of the code. You should know the logic behind the code. Of course, if you do not understand the logic behind the code and if you are using Copilot, Copilot suggestions may not be useful for you. Okay, you should know the logic of the code. I was just giving you a demo on how you can get help from the Copilot. Okay, of course, you should try Copilot only for languages that you already know. Why I'm saying you ignore the language part here, because otherwise you people, some people might raise a question like we don't know Java language. So here Java is being used just as a demo. Is that clear? Yeah, fine, fine. Let's continue. So we have two different extensions, Copilot extension that will show you code completion right there in a code editor. And number two is Copilot chat extension. Copilot extension also has one other hidden feature which is available in most of the IDEs nowadays. I'm talking about generating a code from a command. Okay. So let's say, for example, instead of using Control I, what I can do is I can just use something like this, a command, and let's say return the customer object. Press enter, wait for a minute. Okay, looks like it's not recognizing this particular comment. Fine. You can see there is a bulb icon here. Hint. Click on the hint. Not sure why it's not actually generating a code snippet for me. Okay, fine. Looks like what I have to do is press Control Enter and wait for Copilot to give me a suggestion. So this time what I did is I'm generating a code from a comment. So first I entered a comment and then instead of enter, I used Control Enter. Now, did you notice the two different, not two actually, multiple suggestions provided by them? But looks like even though GitHub Copilot is saying there are three suggestions, looks like it's all same thing. Return customer to string. Notice that? Hello? Yes. Now, why it is returning a string object? Any reason for that? Hello? It's because string is the return type here. Let's cancel this. Let's make a change here. Let's say I want this one to return a customer object. And now here, if I press Control Enter, these are the suggestions. Let's return the customer object using suggestion number 1. Okay, so these are inline suggestions that we get from Copilot. Now, is it possible for Copilot? Is it possible to use Copilot to explain the code snippet? Can we use Copilot to explain us what the particular piece of code is? Let's say I will try Copilot to explain me what these two lines of code is for. So what I'll do, I will use these two lines and then Control I, and I will use term explain. What are these two annotations? Let's see if Copilot can understand and provide a documentation for me. Now here Copilot is giving me all the documentation. Notice that? Hello? The two annotations in your file are REST controller and REST mappings. And these are the details about it. And along with that, Copilot is even giving me a sample code snippet to understand how it works, or a sample usage of those annotations. We'll take a break in next 10 minutes. Yeah, not 10 minutes, another few minutes. We will take a break at 11:15. Is that fine, everyone? Yeah. So let's continue. So auto completion feature. I told you about auto completion feature. Now there is a small change on how auto completion works now. As you can see here from the screenshot, earlier it used to work directly in line with a comment. So whichever programming language you might be using, just put double slash or whatever comment syntax you use, put the comment, write a text, wait for a couple of seconds, and Copilot used to provide us suggestions like this in a gray text like this. Okay, it will provide a suggestion like this, and if you accept the suggestion, press tab key, and if you don't accept the suggestions, you can just kind of press escape and continue. Okay, that is how it used to work. Now Copilot is not limited to languages like Java and .NET, but Copilot will definitely help you with lot many different types of code. So to give you an example, what if I'm creating a JSON file? How many of you have worked with JSON file? Yeah, right. So let's say, for example, here I'm going to I'm going to ask Copilot to do something for me. Okay. So let's say, for example, now this is a JSON file, and in JSON file, we don't have any comments. So I'll press Control I, and let's say I want Copilot to do this. Generate JSON document for customer object, which has following attributes. Now let me provide all the details. Okay. The details like first name, last name, phone number, and email. Press enter and wait for it. Looks like Copilot has generated a JSON object also for me. Did you notice one thing? Inside this JSON object, it also has some data filled into it, like John Doe with phone number and email address. If you accept it, click accept. Now, is there any change required? Like, for example, Control I, add birth date attribute to customer object. Let's see if it can go and make changes to that customer object now. Notice one thing, Copilot does make a mistake. You know what Copilot did? Instead of adding this birth date right there inside customer object, it has written it here at the current command line. So let's cancel this. Let's keep cursor here. And now let me ask a question. Yeah. So Copilot might and will make a mistake. Please remember, once you start using Copilot with experience, you will know how to make Copilot or how to get the correct response from Copilot after using it for some time. Is that clear? Yeah, fine. Copilot can generate code suggestions as you type. That means sometimes Copilot can even generate the code as soon as you start just typing something out there. Okay, so like for example, what if I'm just trying to write something here? Okay, let's say I will change this into an array type object and put the curly brackets. Customer, sorry. Let's wait for it. Oh, no, this is actually normal suggestion, not the code completion from Copilot. Let's try this with a different code now. Let's say if I want to create, let's close this and create a new uh, project folder. By the way, may I know which programming language you people prefer? .NET, Java, Python, Golang, C, C++, .NET. Fine. So I'll just close this, save all, and let's open a new window. Open a folder, and let's create a folder here. Let's give it a name, demo01. And for this demo01, looks like the folder name did not actually update in time. Yeah. So demo01. Let's try a .NET. But now there is a question. Can we go one step ahead and expect Copilot to generate entire project structure for us? Can we do that? Yes, we can do that, but use Copilot chat. What I will do now, use Control Shift I. Right now, I'm inside the workspace. You can see here, Copilot already know which folder is currently selected in VS Code. Right now in VS Code, we are in Demo01 folder. Yeah, that's right. Let's now request Copilot to generate entire project for us. So let's give some details to Copilot. Kindly generate ASP.NET web application targeting .NET 8 framework. Application should use MVC. Oh, let's skip that. Let's just say I want a .NET ASP.NET application designed or targeted for .NET 8 framework. Let's see if it can generate. So basically, you will notice one thing, Copilot is now working on it, and Copilot is generating the entire code snippet for us, or entire project for us. Notice the code generated by Copilot now. Now, .NET developers need to tell me if this code structure or this project structure is valid, if this project structure is good enough. Hello? Yes? Okay. But this time, GitHub has actually given me 4 options, not just one. Did you notice here 1 of 4? Let's see the second option. The second option is this one, right? Let's see the third option. The third option is this one. And let's see the fourth option. The fourth option is this one. Looks like it has generated 4 different components here. Notice that? Hello? Program.cs, CS project file, index, and home controller. Now, let me accept them all. You can reject them as well. Okay? Please remember, you need to save them as well. Otherwise, if you try to compile this project, it will not work. Now, do you know how to build this project from command line? Let's ask Copilot. As per Copilot, it says use .NET Build to build this project. Is that correct? .NET developers? Hello? Yes? Yeah, that's right. So basically, Copilot can even generate the code from scratch. Not just that, if you want, Copilot can generate even a Python project for you or PHP project for you. To give you an example, generate a PHP 8.2 project with following pages. The pages I want to generate is home, about us, contact us, and products. Let's see if it can generate a PHP code. Now, Unfortunately, here Copilot doesn't know how to generate that. Let's remove the version number and let's see if PHP project can be generated from Copilot. Yes, looks like if I just drop the version number, Copilot is able to do that perfectly fine. But there is only one small issue here. Adding a .php pages directly inside .NET Solution project is actually going to, fail your entire .NET project also, and it's not good for PHP. It should be in a separate folder of their own. Am I right? Hello? But you can see the PHP code is also perfectly written here. Now, I'm not sure which version they are using. In CLI also you can open, but uh, see, CLI means GitHub CLI. If you have GitHub CLI installed, you can use it from GitHub CLI, but there is another option I can show you. You can try terminal options available in Visual Studio Code. So let's go to terminal, new terminal. And once you go to new terminal, I'll show you how you can use GitHub Copilot here in terminal as well. Let's wait for it. Yeah, this is my terminal. Did you notice a prompt here? Press Control I to ask Copilot to do something. Notice that? Hello? Let's try Control I. Okay. Move all PHP files to a subfolder, to a new subfolder, web project. Okay, let's see if it can generate anything for CLI. Notice what it has generated now. Naresh, why it has generated PowerShell code? Any idea? Why it has generated PowerShell code? Because right now the terminal I'm using is PowerShell terminal. Right now I'm into a PowerShell terminal. Yes, it is actually showing me steps, how to create a folder and how to move the file. And guess what? You don't even have to copy paste. Keep the pointer. Notice this icon. Click on it and the command will run. And then it will go to the next command. Here you just have to press enter and contents will be moved immediately. Oh, wait. I should not have used the save option because it's actually saving everything into the current workspace. I should have used cancel option here. Okay, anyways, I know how to take help of Copilot now. Delete all PHP files outside web project folder. Okay. Yes, this is the command. Let's execute the command. Press enter. All the files which are outside web projects are now deleted. Notice that? Hello? Now, please remember here, if you are infrequent user of terminal and you need help with the command, you can get Copilot generate a command for you. But before you press enter, it is your responsibility to make sure that the command is perfectly fine. It is possible that GitHub Copilot will actually give you all the detail, and that might be you might accidentally delete entire project. You might accidentally make some incorrect changes into your project based on the suggestions from Copilot. So you have to verify that first. Terminal users or command line users, do you know that command line interface is not as good or as easy as web interface or desktop interface? You might have to remember a lot many different command line options, right? You also have to put all the options in a right sequence as well. That's why. Okay, fine. So let's just do one thing. Let's take a small break here. Yeah, just like a magic lamp, but you should know what you should wish for. That's right. So let's do one thing. Let's take a small break for 10 minutes here. Meanwhile, you can just try to use the link shared earlier with you. Wait a second. Archie has shared a link, Learning Achievement Badge for AZ-2007, which provides learning material as well. You can just, but before you use this link, you have to make sure you have a Microsoft Learn profile, Microsoft Learn account. How many of you have Microsoft Learn account? If you don't have Microsoft Learn account, what you can do is just sign up with your sign up for personal Microsoft account. Personal Microsoft account literally means account that ends with @outlook.com or @hotmail.com. Some people might have live.com also. Okay. So Hotmail or Outlook.com. Create a Hotmail or Outlook.com account. If you already have an account, log in. If you don't have an account, create a new account. And then log in into Microsoft.com/learn. This is Microsoft Learn portal. Go to Microsoft Learn portal, log in there, and once you have successfully logged in, then use the given URL to access AZ-2007 courseware and badges. Okay. Fine. Archie will guide you later on with the link and the learning badges. Okay, fine. So let's continue. So Copilot can assist you with this type of code generation, okay, auto completion and all. Copilot chat extension, the one that appears on VS Code environment on the right-hand side, you can use chat extension to interact with Copilot, like the way you interact with humans, okay, with words and everything. You can ask Copilot to explain a certain piece of code. I have shown you how to do that also. You can just use slash explain and then selected code. GitHub Copilot will explain you that. You can answer the coding questions, or you can put some questions related to code. Like for example, if I just go back to my VS Code environment right here, let's close this terminal window. I don't need terminal window right now. Wait a second, looks like it's not responding. Probably because the panel here is still open. Looks like my VS Code environment is now totally unresponsive because of that. Just wait for a minute. Yeah, here it is. So we'll just reopen it. VS Code. Fine. So you can ask Copilot to help with code snippets. So you can just select the code and in Copilot chat, just use slash explain. And Copilot will try explaining you the code selected right there. So it's actually scanning entire project. And now it simply put some kind of comments here, like this is how you enable routing, this is how you enable authorization, this is how you define a default route, and this is where you run the application. Now, what if you need help here? Wait a second, breakdown is already given. Discard means cancel this out. Okay. So you can do that. You can even access or generate the documentations there. You can even generate the unit test cases. Now, how many of you know what is unit test? What is unit test? Yeah. No. This is basically unit test that developer will write. Unit testing is for developers, not for the testers. Unit test is where developer will test a particular functionality. Okay. To give you an example, let's say you have generated some piece of code. Okay. Let's go back to our previous project for a time being. Recent. And let's go back to the previous project. And for this given project, what I will do now, this is a product controller. How do you generate a unit test cases there? I'll use Copilot chat window and I'll ask Copilot generate unit test for all endpoints. Let's see how many unit tests it can generate now. So looks like GitHub Copilot already know how to use JUnit, Java unit testing framework, and it is generating these test case classes for us now. Notice that? Hello? Yes, yes. Sorry. Okay, so this is how you can generate the test cases. In case if you expect GitHub Copilot to explain you what a particular piece of code is all about, you could use the / expect button here. So let's say, for example, let's ask Copilot to explain this code. Let's review this piece of code using Copilot. Let's see what Copilot will suggest me. Did not provide any feedback. Okay, there is no feedback. Let's try the explain command here. Explain the selected code snippet, right? So yeah, looks like even though I said explain selected code snippet, GitHub Copilot is trying to explain me entire code, not just that particular line. So how many of you have tried sign up for GitHub account and used the free trial version of GitHub Copilot? Can you try that? Hello? You can try installing extension as well now. Okay. Fine. Let's continue. So this is how it can actually generate the test code. Now, again, it's not just it can generate test code for Java, it can generate unit test code for .NET, Python applications as well. GitHub Copilot chat will use prompt or other input to generate suggestion. So whatever you write here in GitHub Copilot chat window, this is called prompt. This thing is called a prompt. So let's do one thing. Let's start a fresh one. Okay, this is already selected. So let's close it and reopen. Okay, I need to accept or reject the previous suggestions. Okay, so after I accept or reject the previous suggestions, I'm back to the Copilot homepage. So here, what I can do is I can write something here, and whatever I write here is called prompt. How many of you have heard a term called prompt engineering? Yes, anyone? Yes. Do you know what is prompt engineering? It is basically a set of best practices to make sure you get the work or the task done from AI. What exactly should be your prompt? Okay, or what exactly you should write to get the things done from the AI, generative AI tool, whichever one you might be using. That's called prompt engineering. And whatever you type here is called prompt. So you need to make sure that whatever prompt you enter here or whatever text you enter here is perfectly formulated properly. You need to format it properly, provide all the necessary details to it. And one more interesting thing is make sure the context is already well defined. Like this is a project, right? Yeah, a folder is already open. And here in prompt, whenever I will write any kind of question, GitHub Copilot will take the entire workspace as a context to understand what I mean. Like for example, let's say for example, here I'll ask question to Copilot, what kind of programming language used in current workspace or current project. Now, please remember when I write something like this, okay, workspace is not able to recognize. Fine, I will just rephrase this question. But this time I will use one extra parameter here @ workspace. Let's see what happens now. Okay, it's not able to detect the @ workspace also. We are already inside a demo 10. Yeah. I'll do one thing. I will do one thing. I will select a pom.xml file here. Okay, pom.xml file is basically the file that defines your project, Java project. And now let's rephrase this question. What kind of project is it? Let's see. Copilot can now understand it. So because I gave reference pom.xml, Copilot knows that this particular project is a Java project and it uses Spring Boot. How did it know all this thing? It know all these things because there is a pom.xml present in the given file, in the given project. And it even knows that it's using Java 17. Is that clear? Because this file was already selected there. Okay. So Copilot actually use current workspace as a context, and you can write a prompt. Your prompt should actually describe what you exactly want. Now, This is called natural language prompt, NLP. NLP is basically a part of AI that basically talk about how you can build a conversational AI tools or conversational AI model where you can converse with people. Do you know this term is already used in many other areas as well? Have you heard about term bot, BOT bot anywhere? Many organizations have now started deploying bots, chatbot. Yes, Naresh, we call them chatbot. Chatbots are basically AI-based tools where you can interact with a bot directly using human language. And behind it, what it uses, NLP, natural language prompts. You can specify the code and code file as a reference to your prompt. Now, if you don't provide a right reference, if you don't provide a right reference, it won't be able to understand your question and it won't be able to provide you a proper response. So what basically Copilot does to generate a response? Now we are getting little deeper into how Copilot works. So the process is number one, input processing. What is input processing? Whatever prompt you have entered in Copilot chat, GitHub will first pre-process it. It will take the string, split it into tokens. It will convert them into number of tokens and then pass it to large language model, LLM, large language model. Then language model will analyze it with associated code context. Now it will use associated code context, the files that you have selected, for example. Then LLM will generate the code suggestions and explanations, and those suggestions and explanations are then rerouted to your chat window. And right there in a chat window, your response is properly formatted and then presented to the user. So formatting is done by the UI, basically UI application. Okay, this is how it works. So input processing, language model analysis, response generation, and then finally output formatting. In order to use all these things, the large language model that we are talking about here, LLM, is backed by OpenAI from Microsoft. Do you know the relation between OpenAI and Microsoft, by the way? Hello? Microsoft is promoter of OpenAI, or Microsoft has heavy investment in OpenAI. Okay. OpenAI was actually, yes, Microsoft bought OpenAI. That's right, Davinder. So Microsoft has huge investment in OpenAI. OpenAI basically works dedicated on AI technologies. They released tools based on AI, and Microsoft is now utilizing or integrating them in many of their developer tools as well. Okay, so GitHub Copilot also behind the scene is using this OpenAI Codex model, large language model built by OpenAI. So the extension that you are using, your extension is simply getting the line you have entered along with the context you have provided, and it will send all this data to OpenAI for processing. OpenAI language model, Codex model, will then generate the response. Yes, 3 billions invested in India for 25 to 30. Okay, but this is for overall, okay, across multiple horizons or multiple different projects. Okay. Now, this is going to be, you can say this is going to be a de facto standard in near future. Right now, we cannot expect any developer to write entire application in Notepad or simple text editor. We expect our developers to use some kind of development environments, Eclipse or Visual Studio Code, PyCharm, something like that, right? So in near future, your developers are going to use IDEs and code generation tool, AI-based code assistant along with IDE. That's going to become a standard feature now. Now, so Copilot chat, we have already explored it. We get chat view, you get inline chat, you get smart actions. What is smart action? Smart action is when you get a button directly inline. let me show you what exactly is called smart action here. Smart action is when you keep your mouse pointer on selected piece of line and it gives you fix with Copilot prompt. That is smart action. Okay. Or if you select certain code and click on this button, this is called smart action. Notice that. You can ask Copilot to modify something here. Okay. Or if there is a code with some kind of error inside it, you can expect Copilot to fix the error for you. Like this one. Use this option. This is called smart commands or smart options. Mainly in Indian data centers. Yes, Davinder. Data centers means it's basically for their cloud platform. It's because there is a growing demand in India for cloud resources. Anyway, so fix using Copilot. This is smart action. Okay. Quick chat. A quick chat window that opens right there inside a window, inside a code editor panel. This is called quick chat. Okay, whereas this is the dedicated chat window. Now, interesting thing is whatever you put here will also appear in this chat window as well. Okay. Yeah. Now, there are two things you should take care of when interacting with GitHub Copilot. Number one, intent and context. You have to provide the context to work on, and you have to define your intent. That means you have to describe it properly to Copilot what you expect Copilot to generate. What do you expect Copilot to do? You have to be very clear about that. Is that clear? Hello? I have already given you a demo on how to use Copilot with VS Code. Let's try now some uh, questions, practice questions, knowledge check questions. You have to uh, give an answer. Answer means you just have to enter A, B, or C, whichever option is correct for the given question. So my first question, what is one of the main benefits that developers gain by using Copilot, GitHub Copilot? And what is the right answer for this? Okay, many people have mentioned B as the right answer. GitHub Copilot increase developer productivity and enable them to focus on more satisfying work. Yes, that's right. Which of the following items describe primary function of Copilot extension for Visual Studio Code? What is the primary function for this extension now? Okay, so answer is B, AI pair programmer that provides autocomplete style suggestions as the code is entered. That's right. How can developers customize setting for GitHub Copilot and keep Copilot chat in Visual Studio Code? Where can we make customize the settings for it? Any guess? What should I do if you need to customize the settings for Copilot chat extension in VS Code? You can go with Copilot status icon or you can go with manage button in Visual Studio Code. So like for example, here is the manage button of Visual Studio Code. From manage, you can go to extensions, and from extensions, you can configure the extension, or else go to manage once again And then there is an option here to go for the settings, manage settings. All the VS Code settings are actually internally stored in JSON file. Here you can search for something called Copilot. Let's see. Here is the Copilot settings. So GitHub Copilot is enabled, and you can see Copilot course suggestions is enabled for certain languages. Like for example, right now, I have disabled course suggestions for HTML file and JavaScript file. But if you want, you can enable it back. Are you getting my point? Yes. Then Copilot local override is auto. So it will automatically find what language is default language for my environment. Rename suggestions, enable code actions, instruction generation. So you can see a lot of different customization options already available here. Is that clear? Yeah. Now, if you want some details about responsible AI, responsible generative AI, this is a link from Microsoft Learn module that actually focus responsible AI. Responsible AI means set of best practices or guidelines on how to use any generative AI tool. So this is the entire module right now here. This will explain you what could be potential harms, potential issues with using generative AI and how you should avoid them. Just check if you are able to read this article from Microsoft Learn. Please remember you need to have a Microsoft Learn account, a free Microsoft Learn account. You sign up and then this entire module will be available to you. Okay, I'll give you 2 minutes. No, no, we are continuing it now. Yeah, fine. Getting a documentation now. Can we generate a documentation? Yes, we can document the code. You can document the code using GitHub Copilot. How to generate a documentation? You can use document and explain tags of Copilot. You can ask Copilot to generate a project documentation when you need to provide details about the project directly to your different stakeholders. You can use document. So like for example, these are some of the options you can do. A smart option called explain, or chat view, you can say explain selection, or just inline, you can say /explain. You can also use explain command in terminal, and you can also use explain in a workspace. So these are some ways you can do this. Like for example, let's try some of these commands in VS Code environment, our VS Code environment here. So here, let's say in the GitHub Copilot chat, I will just try workspace explain. So here it is trying to explain me the entire workspace. For reading the entire workspace, it is using pom.xml to define everything. Okay, so it is saying this is a project and these are all the detail it has captured from pom.xml. Now, if it was a different file, it would have explained it differently. The other things you can use probably here are explain selection or explain a selected file. Okay, so what if you want to explain a selected code, like for example, this one. So let's say I'll say explain selection. Okay, so it is just trying to explain me the selected code snippet. Yep. You can try chat view, inline view, and smart view all for the explain command. Okay. You can use @workspace for the entire workspace. It will look at the entire project folder that is open, and you can generate a code snippet or you can generate a documentation for it. Is it possible to document something? Yes. How can you check the documentation or generate the documentation? /doc. So let's see now if we can generate a documentation for this one. So Control Shift I, sorry, not Control Shift I, this time let's use inline. Control I /doc. You will notice here the explanation is and documentation comment for this particular code snippet. Let's see what happens now. Can you see the documentation comment for the entire project now getting generated? Sorry, not entire project, but at least for this particular file. See what all things it contains, right? Can you see how many endpoints are there? How many methods are there and how they work? Hello? Can it work similarly for .NET project also? Let's try this out. What I will do is I will just try to open an existing project folder now. Open a folder. I have some project here in VS Code environment. Let's say this is one of my existing .NET project. And for this given existing .NET project, let's see if GitHub Copilot can generate documentation for my .NET project as well. Let's go to controller. Looks like there is only one home controller here. And let's see if it can generate documentation for this one. /doc. Looks like it is actually suggesting me to add a new method called about page method. So it has misunderstood my request. Let's discard it. Let's instead use inline chat, Control I, and here let me use /doc. Okay, so now it is generating something. So it looks like what it has done is it has added some documentation comment right now, but GitHub Copilot can and will make some mistakes. So looks like this will actually result in code not getting compiled at all. Don't you think so? Hello? So /doc is for generating documentation comments, adding comments to your code. Adding a documentation comment is actually one of the best practices developers should follow. But developers always would give you an excuse that they didn't have enough time to add documentation comment. So here Copilot can generate documentation comment for entire code. It looks like this is actually regenerating entire code once again, and this remaining code is getting lots of errors or issues over here. So let's discard this. Let's save the file. And what I will do is let me try Control Shift I, sorry, not Control Shift I, Control I, which is inline, and let's say doc. I'm not sure why for .NET project it's not generating the comment at right place. Okay. For Java, it worked totally fine. So doc is to add documentation comment. Let's try this documentation somewhere else for, let's say, some other configuration file. Let's try documentation for the YAML file. Do you know what kind of file it is? It's a Docker file, Docker Compose file. Let's see if we can document this compose file as well, because of course you can see there is no comments here. So let's Control I and let's see if it can generate the documentation for this file as well. Looks like it has generated documentation only for the current context. Let's discard this. And let's say I want documentation for entire project. Sorry, entire file. Yes. Let's wait for it. Okay, looks like it's asking me to select the code for which you want me to create a documentation. Fine. So let's do one thing. I'll say doc selected file, or let's say doc for compose dev.yml. Can you see the complete documentation for the current file now? Just mention the name of the file. If you put it on top of a particular method, it will document that method only. But if you put it on top of the file, you can generate documentation for entire file. Now, this is a file documentation. This is how this file should be used. And it is explaining you everything in this file. It looks like the documentation is not actually matching with content of the file. Did you notice that? Let's discard this. I guess it's better to just generate a documentation for every single line. Like, for example, what is this image? Let's doc this method. Let's try a smart action instead. It's loading, it's taking longer time. Doc. Okay, I can select a single file for documentation or specify the file name from here. Okay, so here it can now work properly. You can see here it's saying it specifies the Docker image to be used for the service. Let's accept it. Then what about volumes? Can I try same thing for volumes also? But looks like it is just regenerating entire file. So you will notice GitHub Copilot code suggestions sometimes get confused. So you might have to repeat it multiple times, or you might have to, change your prompt to get the correct response. Let's see what happens if I just, instead of asking it here, if I ask this question here. Let's remove this controller file. So the context is only context compose dev. And here I'll say I want documentation for entire file. Looks like it has made several changes to the file and it is trying to fix something which actually does not require any fix. Discard. So it might be possible that you might have to periodically discard everything. The suggestions made by Copilot. Anyways, let's get back here. Now, next set of questions. What is the purpose of using chat participants slash command and chat variables in Copilot chat? What is benefit of using those commands like slash output, slash explain, slash doc, and so on, right? And why we should provide the variables or we should provide the file names to it? What is benefit of providing this type of contextual details? What do you think? Yes, they limit the scope of AI response. How can GitHub Copilot chat help generate explanations for unfamiliar code? Copilot chat by removing unnecessary part of the code. What is purpose of reviewing and correcting suggestions generated by Copilot chat? Sorry, for first one, right answer is C. Copilot chat understand the context and intent of the question asked. Okay, so for first question, right answer is to provide context and intent. For second question, right answer is B, not C. Right answer is B, generating natural language description of course functionality and purpose. And question number three is, what is purpose of reviewing and correcting suggestions generated by Copilot chat? Why we should do that? It's not to ensure AI is learning correctly. We are not doing machine learning right now. We are end users. Our objective is to ensure accuracy and completeness of generated explanations and documentations. Okay. So for third one, right answer is B. For first one, right answer is C. And for second one, right answer is B again. Yeah. So C, B, and B. That's the right answers. Okay. Now there is this module you can refer to, GitHub Copilot in Visual Studio Code. Complete instructions are given on how to use Copilot extension in VS Code. You can access this entire Learn module from the given link here. Check if you are able to access this link. Okay, that's good. Can we generate code features? Yes, we can generate code features also using Copilot. Yeah. code completion suggestions. Copilot can actually provide you the code completion. So while you are writing a code, Copilot might suggest you the changes to the code or immediate code completion features, like what should be the parameters to this particular method or what should be there inside a code. It will provide all the suggestions to you. Like for example, here in home controller, as soon as I start adding something here, let's say, for example, let me try public I action result. And here I'll say contact. Yes. Now you will notice here, as soon as I start adding something, Copilot is asking me to press Control I to continue with Copilot. So let's press Control I and let's see if Copilot is generating a code for me. Notice the code generated by Copilot. Hello. This is a kind of auto completion only. Accept. So it's returning a view back to me as soon as I do this, right? So it will help me to while building a code. This is called code completion. The code completion can be a single line completion or multi-line completion. It could be any of that. Like for example, what if I try to create a very simple method, integer do sum in bracket, integer x, integer y, and then curly bracket open and close. Can I use Copilot here to complete the code? Wait a second, I was expecting Copilot to immediately give me a suggestion on what should be there inside this code. Let's remove these lines and use Control I. Fix. Okay. Did you notice the fix given by Copilot? Copilot is saying, depending upon what you have written, what you should do inside this method is just return x plus y. This should be the code. So you can use Copilot to do this type of things. Okay. You have to provide the context with open file with top level comments, and you have to include proper references. You have to provide the meaningful function name and comments. With meaningful function name, Copilot will understand what to be done. Like for example, is it possible to calculate age of person from his date of birth? Let's say, for example, I'll say calc age from DOB. Okay. And let me press Control I. Let's see if Copilot can fix this one also. Notice what Copilot is suggesting to me. Hello. I just wrote the name of the function properly. And based on what I have written as a function name, method name, Copilot is able to suggest something to me. Is that clear? This is the suggestion from Copilot. Let's accept the suggestion for a minute. And now let's do also make a change. Like for example, what if I don't want this, right? Let's select this line. And here, let's ask Copilot to do something different this time. Let's say Control I. Make DOB a parameter, or let's make DOB an argument to the function. Let's see if Copilot can do that. Yes, Copilot did the changes. Did you notice what Copilot did now? Oh, but as I know, Copilot does make mistakes time to time. Instead of adding this particular function parameter here, it actually introduced the function signature right here. So what I should do is just cut it from here and paste it here. So you may have to still validate your code time to time. So code completion like this. Okay. So if you provide meaningful function name and comments, Copilot might be able to generate the required code based on it. You can also provide specific examples to them. You should also break the complex task into simpler tasks whenever you expect Copilot to generate the code for it. You should avoid ambiguity. Your whatever you have mentioned in Copilot, it should actually refer to one and only one specific task, not more than one. Okay. It should be very specific. Avoid ambiguity. Okay. There should be only one meaning of it. Yeah. Keep the chat history relevant. Why chat history relevance is required, or why chat history is relevant here? Because natural language processing means GitHub Copilot will always refer to the previous interactions you had with Copilot. Okay. It will use that previous interaction as a context to generate new code snippet. Okay. And of course, follow the good coding practices. Now, this is example of code generation, but because of some reason, this particular feature is not available in my VS Code environment. I'm not sure why it happened, but what was expected here is in Copilot, every time you start writing a code, if you define a function with a meaningful name, Copilot should immediately generate suggestions for you. But with my Copilot, maybe my VS Code is not updated now, but what is expected is as soon as you start writing something, it should immediately provide the code completion. Let's say, for example, I wrote a Python code. Let's say in a Python code, I'm just trying to define a function. How do you define a function in Python? Do you write function or fun, something like that? No. Let's ask Copilot to generate that. Define a function to calculate hello world. Yeah, def keyword. That's right. So def, let's say I'm creating a function called define a function, uh, calculate or simple interest, then in bracket, or just simple interest. And now you can see there is the star over here, smart action, fix using Copilot. Notice the definition here. Hello. What I was actually expecting is I don't have to press any button. As soon as I start typing, it should autocomplete. But anyway, let's accept this as well. Now here, if I press enter and wait for a few seconds, Visual Studio Code should generate, or GitHub Copilot should generate a code suggestions in a gray color. But I'm not sure why my VS Code environment is not doing it. So let me manually ask Copilot to fix this. So yes, you got my point. What I was expecting here is as soon as I finish writing text and press enter, Copilot should generate the code snippet. But because of some reason in my IDE, it is not doing that. It is simply waiting for me to press Control I to trigger auto completion. Yeah, fine. The code completions, you can accept and reject them. And sometimes Copilot might give you more than one suggestions. Copilot can also give you more than one suggestions. And when Copilot does that, you can select the one which is more closely related to your account. Okay. Like here, they have written a comment, and after they press enter, a code was automatically written. Let's put a comment in this Python code. Define a function to calculate age difference using two date of births. Difference must be in years. Okay, let's press enter and wait for Copilot to act on it. No, I guess Copilot is not automatically working like this in my environment. So looks like I need to select this and use Copilot chat like this. Already have written a comment. Let it read my comment and generate the required code for me. And this time for this particular code, looks like I have only one suggestion from Copilot. You can also give it a comment like whether it is helpful or not, accept, and this is the code definition for me. Can you see the code defined by Copilot now? Hello? Yeah, fine. Now, what kind of other activities you can do? You can even ask Copilot to generate the entire project structure for you. I have already done that, but there is another way to generate this type of project. You can combine the commands like this, @workspace /new, and then specify what you expect it to generate. Let's try this out here in a uh, in this window right now. If I use Control-Shift-I can ask Copilot to generate something for me. Let me remove all the context. So let's say in a workspace, I wish to create a new Python Flask application in dedicated folder Python app. Application must include 4 pages. Or let's say, I will even specify the intent here. Python Flask application for XYZ college. Let's see if it can generate anything based on that. So this is called project scaffolding. It is actually showing me all the detailed steps, and it is also generating the project as such. So let's see what suggestions it has generated to me. As per these suggestions, I can use these commands, right? And all the steps are already given, but I guess, yeah, Python app is defined here. If you click on Python app, you can see the template, Python app.py, requirement.txt file, everything is ready. Is that clear? Hello? So provide a workspace /new is to generate new files or project structure, and then describe what you want. Okay. This will save a lot of time. As you can see here, you can see in the template subfolder, there is a index.html file. And here you can see it simply says, welcome to XYZ college. You can mark it as done, right? Yes. Here again, workspace. And then here, I will specify the folder name, Python app. And here, let me add one more prompt. Add contact and about us pages. Let's see if it can generate those 2 pages right here inside the project file. So let's see. Yes, inside the template, it has created about us.html, contacts us.html, and inside index.html, these were the regular contents. Notice that? Hello? Routing we need to fix. So what you can do is select this file. Let me accept this first. Done. And now for the given file app.py, generate route to missing HTML templates. Let's see if it can identify what templates were missing and update them. So looks like it has now added 2 more entries, one for about page and one for contact page. Okay, the complete number of languages which GitHub Copilot currently support. For that, I will take you to GitHub Copilot documentation page. GitHub Copilot right now has support for multiple programming languages. Copilot docs, language support. Let's see what all particular programming languages are currently supported by Copilot. Okay, this looks like a query somebody has raised, but there is a link given, GitHub language support. So Copilot right now, if you look at the first column here, Copilot would be able to suggest code snippet for C, C++, C Sharp, Golang, Java, JavaScript, Kotlin, PHP, Python, Ruby, Rust, Scala, Swift, and TypeScript. Notice that? Basically, if for a particular programming language, if there is lot of code already hosted on open source repositories, Copilot will provide better support for that. Is that clear? So what you can do is, I'll share this link directly with you. Here you can check what all features are supported on GitHub for particular programming language. Sorry, I accidentally closed the window. Yeah, yeah. I hope my screen is visible to all of you right now. Yeah. Okay. So Copilot has support for multiple different programming languages, and it basically use the open source repositories which are available out there to read and understand code and provide you the coding suggestions as well. Okay. We will wind up our session at 1 uh, 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 at about 1 p.m. approximately. Yeah. So generating a new code, converting a code from one programming language to another, fix coding issues, create unit tests, or suggest improvement. We can do all that with Copilot. Yes, there is one thing new now. Convert code from one programming language to another. Is it possible for GitHub Copilot to do that? Yes, very much possible. So you can provide one piece of code snippet and you can ask Copilot to convert it or translate it from one programming language to another. Okay. So Java code, you have a sample Java code and you want to convert that or you wish to translate that into C# code, you could do that. You can check the suggestions and you don't always have to accept the suggestions. You can discard them also. You can generate using inline. Inline generation, I have already shown you how to do that. You write a message like, I want to create a regular expression to validate email address. It will generate the code. If you like it, accept. If you don't like it, you can discard it. Now, let's try conversion from one language to another language or conversion of entire file. To give you an example, this routing file here is written for Flask, right? Can we translate it for some other environment? Yeah, sorry. So is it possible to translate this project into something else? Like for example, workspace, Python app, right? Now, is it possible to translate this into a different? Yes, I was about to do that, Ashish. Let's try Django. Okay. Convert Flask app. Now, please remember, if you are trying to do something, I assume you already know both Flask and Django frameworks. Okay. Let's see if it can generate. So basically, it's making several changes to these files. Now, you will notice here it says this file is no longer needed as we are converting to Django. So basically, GitHub Copilot is recommending us to just delete the file. Is that clear? Delete all those lines, not required. And instead, it has given me everything else. Let's accept the suggestions and see the changes. Now, this file is removed. Requirement file, I guess requirement should be modified, but it did not actually do anything with requirement file. Or maybe I just have to close all these files without saving the changes to them. About this is the same thing. Now this is view file. Can you see the new views file? It's using Django shortcuts, index.html, about page, contact page. You can see it's a different way now to use routing. Okay, the routing is different anyway. And this is manage.py, which is basically a Python Django application code. Okay, this is how it will be used. So yes, you can translate. And this time I did not translate from one language to another language. I simply translated it from one Python framework to another. But yes, you can convert that. Now, let's go to an extreme level. And let's say workspace, Python app. And let's say copy or create a similar project, but in Angular framework. It should be created in dedicated folder Ang app. Let's see if it can do a copy, kind of. So looks like Copilot has created another folder called Ang app. Here it is. Can you see the Ang app, Angular project? And if you go to the SRC folder, SRC app, can you see the app components getting generated here? But there is something missing here. It has not actually created all those view files. Remember that? Hello? Home page, about page, etc. So there could be some things missing, few things missing inside it when it generates the code. Okay, and you have to fix them manually. It is just your assistant. Okay, you can even convert entire block or entire file. Now, few knowledge based questions. Okay, after this, we will wind it up. What is the best way to provide context for GitHub Copilot and receive better code suggestion? What we should do to get a better code suggestion? Yes, anyone? By providing meaningful function name, specific function command, and having related files open in editor. If any file is open in editor, it will be automatically used in a context. If you use GitHub Copilot chat view. How can developer optimize their experience when interacting with Copilot via chat? Yes, option B, by using chat participants, slash command, chat variables, and being specific in your prompt. What are the two ways to generate code line completion using GitHub Copilot? Let's see the answers. For question number 1, C is the correct answer, providing meaningful function name. For question number 2, B is the correct answer. And for question number 3, again, B is the correct answer. Generate completion from comment and from code line. Okay. Please remember, from prompt, we generate new fresh code, and from comment, we generate the addition of the continuation of the same code. So that's the correct answer. For question number 3, correct answer was B. Any questions, any queries you have about GitHub Copilot now? Hello? Remember, other than programming languages, Copilot is not just limited to programming languages, as I told you earlier. You can use it in Visual Studio as well, Naresh, but right now I don't have Visual Studio installed in my system. Uh, Quite frank, reason why I did not install it is because Visual Studio take up a lot of space and overall resources in my system. Okay, that's the reason why. But it is available as an extension. I will show you where you can find installation instructions. So let's go to GitHub Copilot documentation, GitHub Copilot docs, Visual Studio extension. So in case if you want to install GitHub Copilot in Visual Studio, this is the article that will help you. So first of all, you need to make sure you have Visual Studio version 2022, 2022. Okay. If you are using older version, there is an additional plugin available. But if you use 2022, GitHub Copilot is available in Visual Studio installer only. So just launch the Visual Studio installer, modify your current installation, and select GitHub Copilot as an individual component there. For previous version, it is available as an extension. Okay. Available as an extension, just the way you install extension in VS Code, similar to that. Okay. See, you will be able to see these options now here. Notice this Visual Studio installer individual component. GitHub Copilot is now available there. Okay. Yeah, I'll share the link. Now, last point, GitHub Copilot, other than programming languages, GitHub Copilot also support other tools. Like for example, Copilot also know how to create Terraform template file. Copilot also know how to use Ansible playbooks. Copilot also know how to use Docker Compose file. Even Copilot even knows how to create Kubernetes manifest. So it's not just related to only development languages. Okay, to give you an example, what if I need to create something like a deployment.yaml file for Kubernetes? Here, let's ask let's ask Copilot to generate a Kubernetes deployment and cluster IP service for my application image Mahendra Shinde slash my app. Okay, that's the container image. My container is exposed on port 8080, but service must use port 80. Now with this input, if I press enter, Copilot already know how to use Kubernetes manifest as well. Notice that? Hello? Kubernetes, and it's not just Kubernetes, okay? Instead of this, you can also generate a Docker Compose file. Or let's say I want to write a Terraform script. Generate a Terraform script for deploying to Azure VMs, or let's say two Linux VMs in a new VNet. VNet must provide two subnets. First one for VM and second one for a relational database not included in current configuration. Let's see if it can generate a Terraform template for that. Notice what is generated right now. Hello? Is there anybody here who's into automation and not into development? Hello? Infrastructure, automation or infrastructure admin? Okay, fine. But my point here was to explain you that it's not just going to help a Java and .NET developers or Python developers. Even automation experts can use. Yeah, GitLab is a different tool, basically. It's a competitor of GitHub. But yes, it can actually help different type of people, different scope. Okay, even operations people as well. It can generate Terraform file. It can generate Kubernetes artifacts, right? Any questions, any queries, anyone further? Yep. Archie had shared a feedback link with all of you just a couple of minutes back. So do one thing now. I want you to do two things. Number one, provide the feedback. And number two, I want you to also also redeem the batches she had shared with you. Over to you, Archie, now. Hello.